I'm Robert Haase. Today is October 3rd, 2017, which is my 4-year anniversary of being cancer-free after having my hemiglossectomy. For those of you who don't know my short story, I keep it really super short. 2008, had a vocational school I owned. Basically, it's funded by student loans. Student loans during the financial crisis stopped. I lost my business, I lost my house, lost my car. My wife left, and I got cancer. So that process has put me into a path. As you know, I've been working on my book, Run Through the Fire, and talking about adversity, how you face adversity, how you get through it. And the more reading I've done, many books I've read through, I'm seeing some commonalities with that, and people who faced adversity themselves and gotten through those processes. And I'm looking forward to sharing that with you during this process. But, you know, my goals back then, my goals before all this hit were different. My goals have changed with that, and now my heart is really actually in helping people and encouraging them through adversity, regardless of what that is. Could be cancer, but it might be the loss of a child, or it might be loss of your business, or your house, or you got in an accident, something happened to you physically. It can be anything, but that adversity, how we process that, we actually have tools we can use for that. So I'm looking forward to sharing that. You know, my goals, even from a standpoint of in the past, I became a massage therapist and did myotherapy. I've been 28 years now doing that. But it's amazing how that's prepared me and showed me so much about our body, and showed how our thought processes affect physiologically. It's shown in science how we can actually change our body by our thought processes. And so it's just been awesome, even watching studies on placebo and that thought, how our thinking actually can affect our body, same as a medication would. So, you know, that process going through, it comes down to, I'm learning a lot about something called cognitive reframing, how we reframe and interpret what we've been told or what's happened to us. So people call you up and say, well, good news and bad news. Well, they've already decided and reframed what the news is. Maybe it's good news and challenging news. I prefer that better. That something that's happened may not be negative. It may be negative to some person, but for me, I can always reframe that. Okay, what's the positive that can come from this? How can I use that? So, you know, along those lines, my all these years of dating, I've had a certain type. And in 2015, I was introduced to a woman named Taryn Petrina. I met her, thought she's not my type. But she was a fun, interesting person to talk to. So we had similarities, and we talked, and it was a friendship. And the more we became friends, the more I realized, you know, she actually is my type. She's perfect for me. She's not at all about like somebody I've dated before, but she's exactly what I need. And so sometimes we don't really know. Our goals are one thing, but what's better for us is something different. Steve Jobs, when he invented the iPod, we didn't have an iPod before that, but afterwards we all wanted one. It was like, wow. So he said, you know, show the world what they need. And so that's been an interesting process. You know, this also showed me, as the books I'm reading, that, you know, we're all going to die of something someday. And that fight against death, that fear of dying, that fight kind of takes up a lot of our time. You know, we're out there exercising and eating right and trying to preserve our body and not have it decay on us. But what are we preserving it for? What are we doing with that time we have left? You know, and so I'm watching people who are going through health situations and horrible health crises. I read a book. It's called Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And Viktor Frankl was a psychiatrist, a Jewish psychiatrist years ago, and he had a practice, and then the Nazis picked him up and his family and his manuscript for this very book, and they burned it, they destroyed it, they destroyed all that he had possessions-wise. Ultimately, his entire family in various like Auschwitz and other concentration camps died. And he kept kind of being a doctor during that process, and he had to rewrite that book when he got out, but he survived miraculously. And he said that it's not so much your desire to live, it's all about your meaning, your reason to live. What are your reasons to live, and what are your reasons to stick around for? And so for me, it was my daughters. As you probably know, I had 3 amazing daughters and love them to death. And there's no way I want to not be a part of their lives and not see what comes in the future, maybe grandkids or. But I want to be around for that, and that was my purpose of sticking around. But it's not just a desire to live, but a reason to live. And so my hope for you is that you also can find that what's important to you, what's your reasons, and what are your goals. Maybe even reevaluate your goals like I've had to, and see were those the right goals for me. So, you know, again, living a long, full life are two different things. Living a long life is one thing, but if you don't have a full life, if it's not really full of content and being able to make a difference and doing things that are making a change, that's just a long life. I hope for you is to have a long, full life that you're able to give back. Also, I've kind of watched this conversation go on about like cancer, for example, and people use these terms about war. You can do a search online about this, but search on about war, and we're fighting, and we're going to kill this cancer, and you know, ultimately, again, we are all going to die of something. And so if someone does succumb to cancer and they do die, they didn't fail. They just died from cancer. And so failure is a wrong word to look at for that. So I guess for me, I'm learning not to fear death, not to worry about the next phase, what happens. It's irrelevant, because right now, all I have is right now. All I have, Viktor Frankl says, you can take everything you have away from you, every possession, every relationship you have. What they can't take away from you is your determination of how you interpret what happens to you. That ability to make choices and your interpretation of it and your decisions to make, that they can't take away from you. They can't take away your personal choices in that. And, again, for me, I'm not terminal, but if I were dying, cancer would be a blessing, because it gives you a chance to say goodbye. It gives you a chance to have mended relationships and closure with people. But for people who are dying instantly, a tragic accident happens, they can't say goodbye. They can't do that. So people say, oh, the curse of cancer. To me, it's a blessing. If that's how I'm going to go, I have a chance now to say goodbye to people and a chance to use my time wisely, because I know my days are numbered from that standpoint. So anyway, as I'm writing this book, Run Through the Flyer, I want to get other people's opinions, other people's insights. So I've been reading dozens of books on written by counselors and psychologists and psychiatrists and people who work with groups who have been going through adversity themselves. And I want to hear their stories about what's worked and what hasn't worked. But I also want to tell other people's stories of adversity and their triumphs in my book. But I want to hear about yours as well. So if you do me a favor, online, if you go out, just send me an email, actually. Send an email to research@roberthaase.com. It's on your screen. If you can send me the email, automatically you receive a response through my transponder. It comes right back to you and says, here's how to download the actual adversity research document to fill out and send back to me if you would. There might be temporarily a link for an online version of that, but that's not going to be available for a long time. But please tell me your insights, what you've learned, what steps you've taken that have helped you through your own adversity, as well as the steps you've taken that didn't help you so much. So I want to show the negative aspects of that as well, to help prepare people and protect them from making difficult and bad choices during their tough times in their life. So again, thank you so much. These 48 months being cancer-free is awesome. What's going to happen in the future, I have no idea, but it's going to be good. So I love you all. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you for your thoughts, and I'll see you soon.